Okay, video break two. So I'm going to go into the subject of gratitude because I've been studying gratitude for just a little while as I've been helping this homeless boy, and I noticed a trend where he appeared grateful at the very beginning, and then after about a day or two, I realized after everything I was doing, he hadn't said thank you genuinely, and he started talking to me about some of the people inside of the home he was in and how they had started taking the things that they had for granted, and they started acting like children fighting, because they were scared of getting kicked out, and so they, instead of being grateful and pitching in and helping and doing those kind of things, they actually would start like bitching about the other one. Like it's almost like if I tell on them, they'll get kicked out. But what happens is people then just kick you both out because they don't want to deal with you. So I talked to him a little bit about gratitude and how you can't shift out of the situation you're in until you start embracing gratitude. And so this is a subject I've just been playing with this last week as I've been watching different things. My husband was telling me last night how he gave some bum $20. Like he pulled out a 20 bill and handed it to him, and the way the bum received it was kind of like, oh, thanks, like almost like he owed him something. My husband owed him something, and my husband like came away a little bit like discouraged. Like he's like, I don't know if the guy was a bad guy or what was happening, but it kind of triggered my husband a little bit. So what I'm going to talk about here is why we don't shift out of the reality that we're in. If we cannot have genuine love for something, the universe isn't going to give us more. So a study just came out, and I posted something about my wall that the universe actually might be a living organism. And this is something I saw in a vision about a year ago, and I can't go into extensive detail because I was actually warned that a lot of people are not ready for the information, but they told me that the universe is actually living, and it's conscious, and it's growing, and it's evolving, which means it's conscious of us. And if we are spoiled little brats, or we're negative, or we're always pointing out what somebody's doing wrong, or what it's doing wrong, or like we feel like it owes us something, we're less likely. It's less likely to give us what we need or want, because it's just gonna. Yeah, it's. Think about it. If your kids are little selfish little shits and they're not being grateful, how willing are you to keep giving to them, right? So it's shifting into the frequency of gratitude reminds you that nobody owes you anything. This universe doesn't owe you anything. You're not entitled to anything. There was a guy who just barely did he did a YouTube, got a ton of hits. A lot of people liked it because he was willing to say some black man attacked him because he's like, or like verbally attacked him because he's like, you are white, basically. What's the word? Basically, because he was white and entitled, or because he had a fancy car or something. I can't remember what they call it. And I was pregnant one time, and I was like 8 months along, and I'm sitting in a car, and I had never really felt this before, but this woman she had two little boys with her, and it was a black woman. I actually didn't recognize her skin color at all, but she was pushing this cart across the parking lot, and she stops the cart right in the middle of the road, like right in the middle of the road. Like she didn't even move the cart, like it was endangering people. And she leaves it there, and I'm kind of just watching her. I didn't say anything. I'm just watching her, and she turns to me, and she comes at me, and she's like, "Bitch, you want to fight?" Da 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 da. And she was like, "You white trash whore." Da, da. And she just went off on me, and I was like, "Oh my hell!" Like she accused me of being racist and all these different things. She was projecting all of her own hatred, her own self shame onto me. And I was like looking at her like, and I didn't even, it was at that point I registered why she was doing it, because she thought I wasn't looking at her skin. I was looking at the fact that she taught her boys that it was okay to behave this way. And it was like, you know, this idea of entitlement, or that somebody owes you something, or because, and I am not saying that there is not situations where cops are not taking, like, totally abusing this stuff. I'm not saying that there's not a complete war on that's going on inside of this, but what she didn't understand was she was projecting all her own shit onto me. And instead of being grateful for what she had and taking accountability for the situation and teaching her boys to grow up, she was basically letting them know that it's okay to not be ethical human beings. That you are lazy, so leave the cart in the middle of the road and let somebody die or crash. I mean, it was an extremely dangerous situation. And then it would have taken her less than 2 seconds to just walk it to at least the side of the road. But this idea of not having gratitude and being resentful of those that you think have more than you, it keeps you into a state where you're unable to shift vibrationally and unable to start taking ownership and going out there and making the life you want, because you're constantly pointing out while becoming the victim. You're constantly in victim mode, and it stops your progress. And this is why you live in hell. And so I was talking to Justin about this, and my family, because gratitude journals and all those kind of things, and they're so effective, and I don't always do mine, but I was talking to my husband about it, and he started his up, and we started to, and my husband, it was really cute because he got really excited when we started talking about it. He's like, why is it that we can always point out the negative but not the positive? And I was like trying to like just think of what he was saying, and he's like, so I was watching this study, and then he gets all cute and excited about it. And he's like, so the brain is wired that way. Our brain is actually wired to point out, like if you have a wife, like my husband has a wife where I have an elephant brain. So whenever he does something that, like if I was traumatized during that period of time, I remember instantly. And it could have happened 200 years ago, and I know it word for word what happened, because our brain is wired to protect us. So anytime we sense danger, anytime we've been hurt or something negative happened, that is where our first receptors go inside of our brain. And so what happens is we create situations that remind us of this trauma, because we're all constantly pointing out the negative what happened, because that's how we're wired to protect ourselves. And the way he was explaining it was like, oh my gosh. So those part of your brains are actually stronger than the positive aspects. And so him and I were talking, and we're like, and I says, I teach my clients this exercise, and we really should start practicing this as a family, where we, when somebody does something that is not necessarily what we think that they should be doing, we could basically start telling them how we're grateful for them. So I used to do this with my husband a lot, and it actually mended our relationship quite a bit when I was doing it. But I would everything I wanted from him, I'm like, thank you so much for taking out the trash. I love that about you. And I love that you're so compassionate and things like that. And when we started playing this game today, like, it was really, really funny because he was being sarcastic one time because he was saying something, and normally he would have pointed out what I didn't do right, but he totally twisted it, and my brain actually was like, oh my gosh, you totally noticed, thank you. And it took me like probably 30 seconds to realize he was being sarcastic, but it didn't matter because my brain was starting to accept the compliments, which makes me want to behave that way better. And it starts training his brain to start seeing the positive versus the negative, so we can start rewiring that aspect, so we can start being more grateful for what we have and shift that vibrationally. So it's just been kind of an interesting like project I've been studying this week. And also it was really cool because I used this on my daughter yesterday, where we as parents, I mean, I'm going to post an article below, where we as parents, because these kids have so much technology and they're so far more advanced than we are in a lot of ways, it's scary actually. And we want to put this in, we don't necessarily give these kids as much credit as they got going on. So instead of yesterday when I'm having a conversation that would have been normally very triggering for me with my daughter, I was just like telling her how proud I was of her and like how far she's come and how I wish I would have at her age understood the concepts that she knew, etc., etc. Instead of shaming the fact that she's where she's at, I was actually enhancing her and then educating her and letting her know I love her anyway. and showing her how much I appreciate her. Like I genuinely was like, wow, I have such a cool kid. And I focused on all the good things instead of focusing on that one thing, that we want to point out. And I just watched her glow. And so we started practicing this today, and Zachary came out, and the kid is wild. And instead of getting mad because his pants were on backwards, I'm like, hey, Zachy, you got yourself dressed and so excited. And the kid just started glowing, And it helps lift us. It helps lift them. It helps shift like so many aspects of our lives when we start pointing out what we're grateful for versus what we don't like. And it's just something to think about, something to try. It's a daily practice, I do it for a while. My life starts going really, really, really good, and then I'll forget. And then, I'll come back and I'm like, why is everything a mess? And it's, have I showed gratitude today? Have I been appreciative of everything that I have? Have I taken my partner for granted? Have I taken my kids for granted? Have I taken my clients, my friends? So this week, because I have been going through this and experiencing this, I have reached out to a lot of people. A lot of people that I thought maybe were mad at me because they disappeared on my Facebook. And so I'd reach out and I'd say, hey, what's up? I love you, and I want you to know that you matter to me, and I'm really sorry if I did anything that would have hurt you, etc., etc. And I just wanted to show them appreciation and gratitude. And most of them, one or two haven't commented back, but most of them were so loving back. And instead of me worrying that if they don't like me, I am now going, oh, awesome. Okay, that happens. One of them just deleted her account and then she made a new one. Another one of them, she's just been busy. Another one, this and this and this and this and this. And so it was able, by showing gratitude and appreciation to them and honoring them, even if they did delete me on purpose or whatever. I reached out to my grandma because I wanted to show her how much she mattered to me. So we've kind of worked out a thing where we're calling each other once a week. And it was really cool because I'm kind of a pushy person. And I don't, because I'm so motivated and go, go, go and make your life the best it is. I would always ask my grandma, hey, grandma, what you want? Because I didn't know how she's like arthritis, and it's just hard to watch somebody you love be in that kind of state. And so I called her yesterday, and she's like, nah, I can't handle you ask me what I want anymore. Why can't I just be okay with what I have? And I was like, you're so right, Graham. I am so sorry. Because I am always trying to inspire her and things like that. She's just like, just let me be okay with this situation. Just let me be okay with not trying to change anything. Just let me be okay with what's happening to me. Because she's worried that she's going to be passing soon. Anyways, and I was like, okay, so we just started talking and playing, and I just asked her about, I just got down on her level, and I just accepted what was. And she starts teaching me about these frequencies, which she does, and she absolutely adores them. And my husband's knee was hurting, and so I start like, okay, Graham, we're going to totally try this. And so I'm like chanting these frequencies and for my husband's knee and seeing if it works. And we're calling him back and forth. And my grandma's totally engaged with it. And so my friend comes over that very moment. And her knee hurts. And I'm like, oh my gosh, come here. We got to practice on you. So I did the frequency on her. And she's like, oh my gosh, the pain's gone. And so I call my grandma. I'm like, Grandma, it worked. And anyways, and so we've just been creating this little fun game that we're playing because my grandma has her own type of healing modalities. And so it was something we could connect on where I didn't have to change her. I didn't have to make her love her life more. I didn't have to make her inspired to travel or do something. She is what she is, and she's in the situation she's in. And just being grateful for the time we have together, and just being grateful for what we have and what she does have and the life that she does have left, and the great knowledge that she has, going, oh my gosh, my grandma has this great technique, you know, I might as well take advantage of it and have her teach me and show me. And so it's been like a little game, and I'm going to call her later tonight because she called me up. She says, how's your husband doing? And I'm like, well, he says he's about 45% better in this area. And she's like, okay, well, we need to test this because my husband's been a little bit resistant to the healing. And so she's trying to help me figure out why. Anyways, I'm about out of time, but, I just wanted to put this message out. I've got so many other ones I want to get out today. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to. But I feel like gratitude is such a massive, massive shift in our lives. And we can't really... I know when I shifted out of some of the most horrible times in my life, I wasn't able to shift until I found complete gratitude and happiness where I was at and with what I had. And it was when I completely found that gratitude I was able to shift. And I really think the more people are able to get hold of this, the faster their lives can actually change. Anyways, I love you. I am so grateful for everything that you do for me. And I hope you guys have a blessed day.